we're covering the breaking news. Daniel Penny acquitted, going free. Great day for all Americans. Other breaking news, it's just coming out now. They may have arrested the CEO shooter from New York. There's apparently a person much like him who also had a suppressed pistol that they just arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So we may be getting a lot more information on that front. There is a lot going on today. But right now, we want to be joined. We have a reporter who was covering all the events of this trial. A lot of his coverage went viral. He was giving us a lot of information. Do we have Joe?
Hi. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, there we are. All right. Welcome, Joe. Thank you for coming on. So this is independent reporter Joe Brucker. So you were covering the entire trial. So let's get right to the most important thing. What was the moment like when the verdict came in? How did people react?
Absolutely. Yes. Very high emotions. There was a huge outburst of sound and emotion, major wave of commotion. At this point, a couple of the major protesters who had been sitting in on the trial were already outside. So this came from Jordan Neely's father, who is suing actually in a civil suit. He was actually asked to leave the courtroom after this. There have been so many outbursts and so many interruptions during it. They had actually quieted down somewhat. And so there was some expectations that it would be even louder.
How about, could you see Penny himself? Did he show any emotion? Obviously it was very viral when Rittenhouse started sobbing after the verdict, but we couldn't see in New York's case.
Right. They actually rushed out of the courthouse fairly quickly. I was not able to get a view of that particular instance. But they were, and they did not give any sort of press after the verdict either. One thing to keep in mind is that there is still a civil suit looming. And if you remember the Bernard Goetz case, there was, major civil suit afterwards, tens of millions in liability. So they may have been trying to contain any sort of information that could be used.
Of course,
feelings of guilt. Yeah.
And you were also reporting on the chants, the kind of the threatening protests outside of the courthouse. Could you really hear those? Do you think the jury could hear it 13 stories up?
Absolutely. And so we were 13 stories up, and those protests were all the way on the first floor. You could hear it from the other side of the same 13th floor. The jury is deliberating. There was speculation, but not confirmation that we could get that the jury was hearing this as well, and that this was either intimidating or influencing the jury. The part of the issue too was that there wasn't really anywhere else for them to move them that would have been any better. The judge offered to ask the jury, as hey, if you have any notes for us that you're able to hear this, we'll try to move you, but communicated to both parties that even if that were the case, it's not that we'd be able to move them anywhere that would be quieter.
So my colleague Jack is saying someone was saying there were threats from the Neely side inside the courtroom. Did you observe that?
Yeah. So Hawk Newsome did actually say it's a small world, and some of the reporters heard it's a small world, Whitey. Some of the reporters heard it's a small world, buddy. So we're a little bit of back and forth on that. But yes, there was that could have been interpreted as a threat. And that was actually audibly, that was as Hawk Newsome, the founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York, was leaving. Then outside of the courtroom, during the press conference of the various activists that were involved, Hawk Newsome did call for black vigilantes specifically.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So were you speaking with other reporters? Was it a surprise the verdict came in the way it did this quickly after the mistrial, or not the mistrial, after the drop charge last Friday? Was there a sentiment on how the jury was likely to go? Is this outcome expected or surprising?
Sure. I think that many in the courtroom were expecting that we would get another hung jury. The difference between they indicated that they were still debating self-defense, which applies to both negligence and manslaughter, when they arrived at being a hung jury. So that many were expecting that would also that debate would either carry over, or this would indicate that they had ruled that this didn't matter. In which case they would have much more to either deliberate on or rule guilty. So yes, there was surprise that it was this verdict this quickly after the hung jury.